Welcome to the Firehorse podcast, where we talk to B2B founders and leaders about their real life experiences and wisdom on building, selling, and scaling businesses, and gain insights into what actually works across sales, marketing, go-to-market strategy, and AI. Today, I'm joined by Tom Milar, founder and CEO of Eqvista. Tom is a serial entrepreneur who has built multiple companies across fintech, banking, and financial infrastructure. Eqvista is now the #1 ranked equity management platform on G2, administrating over $300 billion in assets across more than 23,000 companies. And Tom is on a mission to make private market valuations and equity management accessible, scalable, and intelligent. Tom, it's great to have you on. Welcome to the Firehorse podcast.
Emily, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. So before we get into it, can you please give us a quick overview of Eqvista and what made you decide to build it in the first place?
I love company equity. I love ownership. I started my first venture back in Hong Kong, 2010, and we were helping companies to get incorporated in Hong Kong. And back then, 2010, it's actually not that long time ago, but the ownership was recorded through a stock certificate, a paper stock certificate, and I was just so impressed. It actually back then looked really nice, and it hasn't changed since 1800, where the Dutch indie company issued the first certificate. I guess it was 1720, like 300 years ago. That was the first ownership, and so I was impressed with that. So we were incorporating companies, and then it became more complex. So you would have preferred stocks, common stocks. You would have different securities. So it was kind of interesting to see how the ownerships actually formed when you set up a company. From there, we actually were helping founders to manage and administer their equity. So we decided to launch Eqvista. It was simple as that.
And equity management is one of those areas that most founders know they need to handle properly, but often they get it wrong. It's complex, compliance heavy, and historically quite fragmented. How did you go about building something that simplifies all of that at scale?
It's as anything else. You start simple, right? The first thing what happens when you launch or when you set up a company, it's the founder's ownership. So, we started with a few features. It was mostly focused on founders, typical startup setup, 2-3 founders, you issue stock, common stocks, the par value. Do you know what par value is? Yes, it's nearly zero, because when you set up a company, the company has a zero value most of the time in 99% of cases. So the par value explicitly is 0.000001. And a number of shares when the company was created, when the stocks were issued, and that's pretty much it. That's what we did. Then we continued building towards the journey of the company. We focus on employee stock options. For those who don't know what it is, it's ownership in a company. So we started with that. So we would help you to get employee stock option plans. You have several options. Then we would focus on preferred stocks. Preferred stocks are mostly distributed to investors. If you have an investor, you give them preferred stocks. They have a different rights than the common stocks. And as the product became complex, you need different tax options, compliance options, different reporting, and most importantly, we are launching. Actually, I would actually never thought of launching it. It's a trading system for secondaries marketplace. We are launching in a couple of weeks, or even a couple of days, hopefully. A controlled tender offer. Companies participate in a liquidity event for their employees or stakeholders. So from very basic stock issuance, so your question was, how did we go about it? It's mostly you start very basic stuff, right? You sell lollipops, and then a few years later, you have a company or you have a shop where you cover all different grocery items It's business as anything else. I think like building a company, it's really about scaling and have an amazing product. So any new product you add, you should focus on scaling these products and moving to another level. I think it's very important. And be bold. Be bold. That's what I think. This is what I think is very important. Extremely important.
Absolutely. I agree. Now you've got over 23,000 companies on the platform and $300 billion in assets under administration. That's a significant scale. So how have you actually grown Eqvista to that point? What's been the most effective channel for acquiring your customers?
We were always client-centric, right? So, that was actually our biggest strength, acquiring clients the ordinary way, the way where you raise a couple of $1 million and you just focus on one segment. Our strength was to focus on all different industries. So, practically anything related to equity, practically anything related to valuations, practically anything related to anything, just anything what was really in terms of equity. So practically any companies, which is the usual way, you are VC-backed companies and you focus on SaaS income. I believe that's the right way to do it if you raise money, because VCs usually ask you to give them certain cohorts and certain KPIs. For us, since we were short on money back when we started, we would take any client, we would take any client, any type of business related to equity. We would provide different type of valuations. So luckily, we have been fortunate to build one of the largest valuation team on the market, at least of the knowledge. We can value companies as small as a couple $100,000 revenue all the way to $1 billion revenue companies, funds holding $20-30 billion in clients' assets. So we really are covering practically everything, and I think that was the essential. Going back to your question, that was the essential part of our journey. We would take and we would onboard any client, and we deliver any product related to equity valuation, equity distribution, equity administration. And that was our journey, right? This definitely wouldn't work for anybody, but it gave us opportunity to grow. We have grown to 23,000 companies on the platform, and 300 billion is actually more than that now. We have a different line of different products. And actually, one of the products serves or values certainly value over 16,000 companies, 16, and most of them are very successful companies, and the scale it's 4 trillion, 40. So we built one of the largest valuation model on the market, which constantly in real time value the companies.
That's super impressive. So behind the scenes, Eqvista is clearly running some very sophisticated infrastructure, real-time valuations, cap table management, compliance, banking. Can you walk us through how the platform works at a high level and what makes it operationally different?
We are a SaaS company first. And going back to your title, second question, why would onboard any company is not really SaaS product. But the difference is that you can actually issue stocks on our platform without a sales representative. So you go on Eqvista.com, you have 2-3 founders. It's self-served platform. You don't need us. We don't sell, upsell. We don't bother you with calls prior you sign up. So we are easy. We are super easy on that. We are literally a SaaS company. Again, you go on Eqvista.com, issue stocks to founders, employees. You can get 499 evaluation. 499 evaluation. We don't have that in the UK, but 499 evaluation, it's appraisal of our common stocks. So before you issue stocks to any founders or employees, it's mostly for later stage companies, at least from the revenue point of view. So once you have $300,000-400,000 revenue, you should definitely get 499 evaluations to understand what's the price of the of the stocks. Again, you can do it online without sales reps. Most importantly, and actually I'm very proud of that, I mentioned that earlier, we have built real-time valuation. So it's a stock ticker for private companies, and we value the stocks for any private company in real time. And that's actually quite important because companies start small. Companies get to 10, 15, $20 million in revenue, and they don't really understand what's their value. And it really changes quite a lot. You have a micro data. You have your own company data. So there's a lot of things which plays in the role, and the valuation of the company is extremely important. So SaaS first, you can build your company cap table without sales rep. So that's something we are very proud of.
Absolutely. And your tagline is AI powered, human delivered, which I think is a really interesting position. What does AI actually do inside Eqvista? Where is it having the biggest practical impact?
There's actually a lot of layers to that. Simply put, it's actually the data, how we process the data scraping, data analysis, how we read data from the client's documents, because it's manual. It used to be manual. Now it's automated. Instead of couple hours, it's done in a couple seconds now. The right formula to use. So there's a lot of things, and we don't really forget about clients, except how much money you have in the account. Clients really care about what the company is worth, what's the stock price of my company. So our clients are not really companies. Our clients are founders, CEOs, and CFOs, because they really care about how much the company is worth. And that's why AI powered, human delivered. So the humans actually deliver the report to clients, so they can object whether the valuation is high or low. We work on a reasoning basis, and what I mean by that is that the reasoning is when clients come in and say, "Hey, my valuation is high, my valuation is low." It doesn't work that way. So we need to explain them, "Hey guys, look, if you think that, you have to give us materials, because we follow a valuation codex where we have to follow certain rules. So we can't really just change valuation based on your wish." So that's where the human delivered part plays the role, the most significant role. We don't put you in blind email info or support@eqvista.com. We give the real person name who actually can deliver and discuss the report with you.
I love that. So obviously something that stands out is the real-time company valuation product. I think you mentioned it as well earlier. I feel like that is genuinely a new idea in this space. It's traditionally been quite static and report-driven. So how did it actually come about? And can you give us more information about what it would change for founders?
It's a PDF, right? The valuation report used to be in PDF, and now you have valuation in your mobile app. You can see the stock price of your company in real time, and founders love that, right? And most of the valuations are wrong. The reason is very simple. When you process any type of valuation, you get data from the client, mostly 3-4 months old, because that's when the accountant closed the account. One month old, even though 1 month old, it's old, because by the time the report is delivered, it can be a couple of months or a couple of weeks. Conditions of the company can change significantly, mostly on the revenue part, and again on the macro level as well. And the PDF operates on a really not very rigid basis. That's why we came up with the real time. So we plug in your data to our engine, and you can see the stock price in real time. And that's what I believe it's 2026 product. The PDF, it's really late 90s product, and I think that's something we had to change. I saw the big opportunity because one of our client they grew significantly, not like 6-7 multiples, 2.5 multiples, and I was on the call with him, and Mike was like, "Hey, you know what? Actually, we need to redo the valuation because our financials we provided are 6 months old now, and the valuation date is from today. So we need to do something about it. Let's redo it, right?" But then Then I was like, wait a minute, let's do the real time then, because that's what we need to do. So we built extremely precise model where even though with limited data, we can calculate the company valuation very precisely, and that's the story. That's the story behind it.
Awesome. So I think that kind of answers the next question in part, because I was going to say you're operating in a space with some well-known players like Carta, for example. So what do you think Eqvista does genuinely differently, and why would companies choose you?
I think that the most important, and I still believe that the most important thing what we do differently is the customer care. We have amazing customer care. We reply very fast. So the speed, it's something we do well, very fast. That's what I appreciate and what clients appreciate. This cost, at the end of the day, everybody's watching how much they spend on certain products. We are 80% less expensive. Or you pay 4,000. So it is big different. So that's the main reason. And obviously on the product side, we have new models, especially on the valuation side. We can sign the report. We do all the defensible reports, which are very, very, very important. Real-time valuation, and most importantly, we are launching the secondary marketplace, where I believe we'll have a very important role on the market.
Absolutely. And you serve everyone from early stage startups through to enterprises and even public companies. That's obviously a very wide range. How do you think about the commercial model and where the biggest growth opportunity for you is right now?
It goes back to the original question. My answer was, that we are industry agnostic. Again, we haven't raised money, so we're not forced to focus on one segment and deliver the KPIs. We are focused on clients rather than VC KPIs, and that's actually where we built the industry agnostic models and the approach. So we welcome companies of all sizes. So it can be really from pre-revenue all the way to multi-billion dollar funds, and that's really thanks to the fact that we welcome any clients. And the opportunity, it's the secondary market. Is the secondary market. It's something I was thinking about for some times, but I never thought that we would ever be able to play a role in that segment. But sometimes you need to be bold, and when you have right people and the right time. So we had multiple clients coming to us and asking about the secondary market. I was like, you know what? Let's do what we do the best. Let's listen to the clients and let's build what they ask for. So the secondary market for us is the next chapter, and the most important thing is that the real time piece. We will be able to tell, or we are able to tell better pricing story, stock pricing story than anybody else on the market, because of the Eqvista real-time company valuation. The model we have built, we are going to be super focused on how we will help companies to explain why the stock price it's that much and why it's not different, because that's what we are. That's very best, the pricing storytelling. So that's big opportunity, and the secondary market needs transparent pricing.
Got it. Okay. And where do you see Eqvista going over the next few years more broadly? How do you think the private markets infrastructure space is going to evolve?
In the best world, it would be Eqvista real-time pricing as the truth about the stock price of privately owned companies. So everybody at the end should know that XYZ, or even though your company is worth based on a Eqvista valuation model. So we would like to become the Yahoo Finance stock ticker for pricing, at least on the marketing price. At least on the marketing side, and That's what we would like to see. All the companies will have real-time pricing of their stocks.
I believe you will achieve that. I honestly believe it.
Thank you. Yes, hopefully.
It will happen. So, if anyone listening wants to find out more about Eqvista or how to get started, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, they can go to our website, eqvista.com, and my email address, it's tom@eqvista.com. I answer practically all emails, which makes sense, obviously. And yeah, happy to help practically with anything, how to start a business, how to bootstrap, and most importantly, anything about Eqvita.
Perfect. And I'll drop those contact details below the video as well. Tom, this has been a really fascinating conversation, especially understanding how you've taken something as complex as equity management and built something that's genuinely scalable and accessible for companies at every stage. Thank you again for your time. Really appreciate it. And to our audience, thanks for listening, and we hope to see you again next time.